how's it going? It's going all right. You know, it's actually, to be honest, if I'm really brutally honest about it, the fact that the Queen died is actually, like it is, we are all mourning in the UK. There are a few idiots who are a bit being idiots about it. But in general, if you've got half a brain, you realise that the woman was an absolute, credit to the nation. And she was like kind, loyal, devoted. She lived a life in service to the nation. I can't say the things. All the people have already said them on the telly, haven't they? All the big people. But actually, in brutal honesty, Cruel alone was taken. Okay, I'll just call you Cruel then. Yeah, we are actually feeling sad in the UK about the Queen being dead, and also because she's been there throughout most of our lives and represented this evolution. Like, I'm going to put her back on the screen when I say a couple more things. I said I was going to talk about it, but now I am. She there's her driving trucks in the war before she was the Queen, and learning to drive the ambulances in the war effort. After we won the war in the West, after England, on their own, beat Hitler, with the help of America and, you know, okay, so France had already fallen and the Netherlands had already fallen and, you know, some of the people had, you know, but England, little old England, Great Britain, with the help of other people from around the Commonwealth, Great Britain and the Commonwealth, and eventually America, we stood our line in the sand and we fought back and we said no. And, you know, we live in peaceful harmony now, don't we? Because of it. But, you know, our national identity is partly storied with this story. It's partly illustrated with this story. And, you know, she didn't shy away from that. She didn't hide. She didn't go in the bomb shelter. She went out and drove an ambulance and was, like, on display being, you know, a leader. And that was before she was actually the Queen. So I've got a lot of respect for the Queen. And then over her life, you know, all the people have said it, all the things, haven't they? But so all this stuff about her being a devoted, loyal public servant and a kind person and all this good stuff, yeah, I agree with all that. But what's interesting as well is that post-war, we won the war. So in Hollywood, in America, you had this big explosion of films like colour and light and isn't it great, life is good, and you had like the future's going to be great and the Jetsons and we're going to have flying cars and look at the kitchen of tomorrow in our capitalist wonderland that we enjoy because we fucking beat off all the Germans and the Soviets and, you know, we're the winners. So we had this flourishing of society and it was a joyful time, and she was the Queen throughout that. And then as she got older, you know, she's been the Queen. I didn't live throughout those Hollywood golden era years, you know, did I? I wasn't around messing about in the 60s. I didn't do anything in the 70s, but in the 80s, 90s. So the rest of us, if you're not my nan, who's now sadly, my nan was the same age as Queen, she's dead. If the rest of us normal people, like, you know, normal people, we were born into a world where the Queen was there and we lived our lives with her as our, they talk a lot about constancy in the eulogies. They're talking a lot about consistency, about her being like a rock. Like, she was an ever-present figure leading the nation in important times, giving a speech every Christmas. You know, she was there at the cup final, handing over the trophy. She was important, not just social leader, but benevolent figure. She wasn't involved in commercial enterprise. She didn't have a political iron in the fire, or even if she did, she wouldn't allow it to be overtly expressed. Like, she was above all that. She was there for something more, and what she represented, she kept repeating throughout her life, was that she was a woman of faith. And she, well, of course she was, because she was anointed divinely by God to become the Queen, but like she was a woman of faith, her own faith, the Queen of the Church of England. So Henry VIII started that. But anyway, point being, she was big on the, you know, the ideas of being a good Christian and being kind to love thy neighbour, compassion. She was big on all that, yeah. So she represented the best of us. She represented what the best of us could hope to aspire to be, not in terms of affluence and financial reward, but in terms of conscience and good character. So to have that as an iconic figure, but also someone that you kind of, like, we see her on the banknotes, we see her on the postbox, we see her on the stamps, we see her, like, you know, she's ever present, this emblem of what it means to be British. And then she's also like your nan. This is something else that I can't really put across very easily, but she's like your nan. Like she's always been there. Since I've been alive, she's been kind of old, so she's been a bit like she's the same age as my nan. My nan has now sadly died. So is the Queen. She's a bit like everyone's nan. Do you know what I mean? She's a bit like everyone's nan. She's a bit like everyone's got a mother, a grandmother, or should have, relationships in their life that they, can parallel with the way we feel about the Queen. And certainly the way she felt about us. You always see it out there shaking hands with the people. So those things all said, how am I all right? How's it going? It's not going particularly, well, it's not awful. It's not like, I heard someone say, well, it's not a tragedy. She lived to 90 something, good life and all that. Yeah, I get it. People do die. It was, I accept it. And it's not a tragedy insofar as it's not a huge shock. She wasn't, assassinated or anything horrific like that. But it's still quite sad and quite poignant. And it marks the end of an era. Like I said about the war and all that, living through the war and this new world that we now live in. That was my nan's era. That was her era. And it seems that some of the good sense and good grace of that era has diluted and dissipated. People have forgotten to be grateful that we don't live in a fascist dictatorship where you're allowed to be Jewish without having to go to the fucking death camp. Like, people have forgotten that having a house over you with a roof over your head that's not being bombed, and there are bombing other countries now, in Ukraine, in Afghanistan, bombs are going off. We're so lucky, and it wasn't just luck, it was grit and determination that got us there. She stood in the way of the Nazis with the guns. So it means a lot, and it means that when you reflect on things like, oh, my nan died, everyone's nan has died, everyone has had, like, it's like everyone's nan's died, but it's also like we as a country, as a nation, I should say, rather, because country's England, but she's the Queen of Great Britain and the Commonwealth. So as a nation, as a Commonwealth, people all kind of understand that those days are gone. That generation has handed over to the next now, like official. And it's strange to say that part of your national identity, part of the programs you watched when you were growing up, part of the songs that you've sung, part of the story of your nation's history, that's over now. That's job done, bookended. She's dead. They're not going to make any more of them. They're not going to be any more old people that, they're not going to Benjamin Button it. The people who are passing from that generation are gone, and we're not going to have their testimony firsthand about the shit that went down anymore. Thank God we've got some of it written down and recorded. We don't want to lose the memory of the things that happened, all of those, and you talk about people who went to war. So this is why it's so moving and touching as well. It's not just like, oh, we had a ruler, like we haven't got a queen anymore. Like, we're talking about all this other stuff. So the people that went to war and didn't come home, the loyal servicemen and servicewomen that went to war and didn't come home, and still do. People have their legs blown off and all sorts of shit still, They do it. I can't quite express this either, but I know it in my heart because I was trained by a major in the army. I was a sports person. The person that trained me used to be a major in the army, so there was a lot of this brought over in the sporting training. But this love of the Queen, like, you do it for God and the country, for St. George, for the Queen. Like, I swore an oath when I became a Cub Scout. Sounds silly, doesn't it? But when you're a little kid and you're swearing your oath to do your duty to God and to the country, to serve the Queen, to do my duty to God and to the Queen. To God and to the Queen it was. Not to God and to the country, to God and to the Queen. She represents that. So, we've all, in all of our lives, been able to reflect on that duty. And she was able to live on after those horrific events in a mindset of hope and positivity, and drive our nation forward, not directly, but indirectly through her attitude. So, we've lost a huge thing, and it marks, like, it's a point in history. That's what it is. It's a moment in history. Like, it's a marking, a bookending. Like, she was there in the war, we're in the new millennium, and now she's not. Things are going to be different. And they're not going to be different because she's not here. They're going to be different because every one of her era is not here. Because the kids today that are on Twitter that are making jokes about it don't realise that the only reason they've got fucking thumbs to type tweets on phones is, and they're not down the fucking German death camps, is because of this generation and the sacrifices they made. When she was talking during COVID, she I'm not going to cry. But when she was talking during COVID, she did this famous speech recently to the nation. Well, like, she talks to the nation every Christmas or when times are really shit and she needs to make a public address. And so she made this address to the nation, recorded on the telly, that we all sat at home and watched. And she said in her speech that we'll meet again. And that's a famous line from a song which they sang in the war. And it makes me feel emotional because I know that we didn't all meet again. Some people died. That's why the song was so emotional. It talks about going off with a song in your heart and being positive and hopeful, even though you're facing the worst. And, just saying, look, we're going to maybe meet again on the other side or something, So she used those words in her address, and it's the wit, the charm, the intelligence of the woman to understand how to speak to. I'm just a normal person. I know I'm not like Lord Mountbatten or anyone, but she spoke directly to my heart. So she did that to everyone in the country, and those who were closed to listening, those who have misunderstood or been ignorant. There are some people in the next few days and weeks you will see, so on Twitter mainly, like some idiots who have been derogatory. I can't understand that for the life of me. Don't care if you like the Royals or not. I don't care if you think politically we should be giving the money or not. She was a great woman, and she deserves honour and respect. So it's a strange time in the UK. It is. We're going to all get over it. We're all going to deal with it. We're going to move on forward with the new king. God save the king. We're going to move forward like that. That's how it rolls. But we are going to take a couple of days. Like, we're in shock, kind of. And we're going to take a couple of days to be reflective and to take it all in and to feel this, when something happens to everyone, like the COVID did, like pretty much everyone in my country at the moment is feeling this same sort of, I'm not going to break down in tears, but I feel like I could cry if I started to list the qualities of the Queen that I admire. I'll probably have a little cry. Like, we're all feeling that same bereavement at the same time, and at the same time we're all feeling a sense of wonder, like the optics of it. Like, King Charles made a speech today for the first time, and I was thinking, like, it's almost like Game of Thrones in a way. Like, you don't have this in America, you don't have this in everywhere else. Like, King Charles, the history, the going back, the Westminster Abbeys and all this. There's a bit of pomp and circumstance about it. There's a bit of, isn't there? There's a bit of ceremony and a bit pompous sometimes, but also it is our history and our tradition, and I'm brutally loyal to it. So there's this sense as well, like, we've lost the Queen, but we're about to embark on this new Caroline. Like, you've got Edwardian, Victorian, Elizabethan. Now it's Charlesian, but they don't say Charlesian. They say like Caroline or Caroline. Anyway, we're in this new era now, and it hasn't quite. Today, the King did a speech today, but it hasn't quite kicked off yet, and nobody. There's a sense of like cautious optimism as well, to use a tired phrase. There's a sense of cautious optimism that we're in a difficult time in the UK anyway with our financial situation. The government are fucking us hard, but I don't know. It's something more. It's above politics. It's above. It's above all else, isn't it? The Queen died, everything stops, and all my life I've sworn allegiance to the Queen. Like, in America, you do the flag. I don't know if you're in America. I just keep using America as an example because I know there's a few Americans that watch, but we swear allegiance to the Queen, and I promise to do my duty to God and to the Queen. The Queen herself and the King, they're divine. They're like part God on earth. They're blessed by their royal blood is chosen by God to become. That's the concept. I mean, I might not have to believe it all, but that's the concept. And like, they're held in not just high esteem, but in awe in some ways. You know, people treat them like celebrities, even though they're not, are they? But different from celebrities, like some celebrities might have pretended to sing a song or done a bit of acting. She's lived a life of nobility and duty. So, you know, you won't even get that in Game of Thrones. You won't come close. You know, you can't write it. Yeah, very, very proud of the Queen. Very proud of her. I've got to stop talking about it, play Genshin Impact. How are you? Says Cruel. How are you? How's it going? Yeah, I'm fine. She's me and the Queen have been like that all my life. Me and the Queen. She used to come round for tea. She never come round for tea. I can't do the buttons with the two faces and the big... Right, look. She never come round for tea. What are you on about? She didn't really... You don't know the Queen. You don't know the Queen. What do you know about the Queen? Well, look, I'm not doing bad me face today. It's inappropriate. And I haven't got the buttons on the stream deck working, so... Anyway... Here's the main thing. Now that I've done all that, I said I wasn't going to do that. Right, now I've done it. We'll cut that into a Ganji cuts. Ganji Kid praises the Queen. God save the King. You got to keep moving forward. And it is a sad event, but she was 96, you know, and like there were conversations over the last couple of years. Oh, what it would be like when the Queen dies? Oh, yeah. And like there are plans already laid in place and things going to action. So it's not like some national shock. You know, it's not like COVID or something like that where, oh my God, now what are we doing? It's all in hand. So it's a strange feeling as well with that in mind. You know, it's strange. It's a bit like, again, it's a bit like your nan's passed or someone close to you that's, you know, old, maybe going through an illness, and except we didn't have the struggles of the worries of the illness ourselves. You know, we knew she was old and poorly and missed a few dates here and there, but, you know, internally we didn't have to be at the hospital worrying by the bedside like the family do. And it's really... I've got to finish this off and make this point as well. I've got to say it because I can't. It's so important. Maybe get the Queen back up while I do it. Please, where's Firefox? Fuzzy Fox, no. Oh, it was so much easier with the buttons. It's really important to note this, that the Queen is first and foremost somebody's mother and somebody's grandmother. So, like, whatever your feelings are about, like, pride or... Pride's not a virtue. About pride or... politics, you know, some people don't like the Queen or the context. Oh, she might have been racist, or she's not, but some people think she might have been. But I've just seen loads of Jamaican people today saying how wonderful she was when she visited them in Jamaica. So I don't know if she is racist, but whatever you think about all that, that's somebody's mom that died. So probably don't go on Twitter and say mean things about her. You know, probably have a bit of respect and decorum yourself. And if you do see, sorry, I'm going to get a bit, you know, I've seen a few things on Twitter that I've got a bit cross with. If you do see anything that makes you a little bit cross, don't respond to it and get into it. Just, you know, what you've got to remember is those people have not grown up like this. So they've not got any of the class. They've not got the class. They're on there tweeting their shit. They ain't got no class. Ain't got no class. That's not how you have class. Ain't got no class. Well, actually, it's not about the way you say the words, mate. It's not about, you know, walk with kings, lose the common touch. It's not about the way you say the words. What it's about is doing the right things, having a bit of class, having a bit of nobility, having a bit of decency. Yeah. So you will see these things in the coming weeks, you know, people making jokes or funny tweets or whatever, conversations. You might even hear it from people talking about the Queen, having their opinions. And it's worth remembering that's someone's mom. So... Okay, we're into Genshin Impact. No more about the morbid...
for a whole day, but it's way worth it because the fish tastes so good.
Death Queen. Morbid Death Queen. How dare she spoil my Genshin Impact. Oh my God.